Jamie's brief summary of Part 16, followed by an introduction.
We wrap up the Mancharians' 5 segments devoted to animals with an epilogue, if you will, paying particular attention to lambs and sheep and their suffering at the hands of soulless mankind in general. Of all creatures, sheep and lambs are animals most closely associated in literature with the infliction of pain, suffering and death. We need not go farther than such collocated or idiomatic phrases as sacrificial lamb, and sheep being led to slaughter when these animals come to mind. Of course, if we feature sheep and lambs as we do in the present article, it is not in the sense that partiality or more importance has been given them to the exclusion of other staples like poultry and cattle, animals that are being slaughtered on a daily basis. Lambs and sheep, to me, look particularly gentler and evince more sheer innocence, and these qualities get to be more pronounced and poignant when they face their slaughterers, typically pleading for their life.
As the Mancharians have stopped their deliberation for a segment of time, in regard to the animal writs a request has been drawn up, in an effort to free the sheep and lambs from yet another money-driven industry. It all stems around money, which encompasses the sadistic borrowing or mort equals death of another's life in the great but uncared-for animal kingdom. Euthrania Sela Sentana-Ries Cortez speaking. August 20, 2014. What follows is a writ authored by Rennie Sentana-Ries.
No longer can we afford to plead ignorance which says I am not concerned on how my steak at supper gets into the frying pan, as long as it gets there when that is what I want to eat. Nor can we afford to say I don't care how my caracal sheep fur coat gets into my favorite clothing store, as long as I find it there for the money I am willing to pay. Why not? Is not food being produced in abundance, and are fur coats not available to all with the cash to pay? You may counter. Listen to me. When we consume, we create demand at the production end of that which we consume, and if that production calls for brutality on sentient beings, like lambs and sheep or cows and pigs, then do we not have a moral duty to seek alternatives to supply our needs from a source, which will not include the display of brutality on the animal kingdom? The laws of the land are such that forbid the killing of our neighbor for any reason, because for the most part we are inclined to not only respect that law to avoid punishment, but simply because our ethical makeup says it is not proper to consume our neighbor's flesh for food merely for wishing a change in diet.
We are one. Animals are a mirror image of ourselves.
Yet why can we in our hearts not conclude that the same standard of morality also applies to the animal kingdom, when we see in them attributes which are identical to those of our own? Our domestic animals can see, and so can we. They can hear, and so can we. They can smell, and so can we. They hurt when injured, and so do we. They have brains, livers, kidneys, lungs, arms and legs, and so do we. They respond to affection, and so do we. They form family clans, and so do we. They feel fear when endangered, and so do we. They can love us when we are kind to them, and so do we love those who are good to us.
I strike the animals and I am the one injured.
There exists an awareness that has among people not come to the forefront, yet is an awareness which simply states, we are what we love, we are what we hate, we are what we mistreat, we are what we kill, we are what we torture, we are what we pollute, and in wars, we are what we are eager to kill. We may counter and say I don't feel the fear and pain of lambs I kill on the killing floor in our meat processing plant, so why should I concern myself with what happens to them? It is my job, and it puts food on the table when payday comes.
One of the most racist of all is the brutality, which goes on against the innocent and defenseless of the animal kingdom.
Friends, food can come to us in various ways, and it does not have to come at the expense of a terrorized animal kingdom. There are other options to make a living, and other foods to eat than the flesh of terrorized, tormented animals. There are also synthetic fibers we can make beautiful clothes from. Our clothes do not need to consist of coats from slain animals. Now, what I have spoken merely covers the ethical side of commercialized animal abuse in slaughterhouses, where our compassion for the abused should fill us with revulsion and shame for what is going on in these facilities away from public view. I already touched on a much more universal reason why we must learn to treat our animals with kindness when I stated we are what we love and we are what we mistreat. That truth will grip us and alter our attitude toward all animals, domestic or otherwise, for it implies that in the universal order of reality we will one day be treated in the exact manner in which we treat or mistreat the animals. For were it not so, we could simply not evolve upward to become better people and could not join the host of our evolved forefathers and foremothers who have already gone before us through the hoops and loops of human evolution and learning, and today are not making the same mistake over and over again. Wherever there is matter, there is interconnection with who and what we are. Wherever there is biology, there is interconnection with who and what we are. We are the animals and the plants and the environment we live in, and we will sleep in the beds of surroundings we create with our own actions, be they careful or careless. Don't be cruel or brutal to animals, for what you dish out to them in miseries will in this life or future incarnations strike you in the face with like intensity, and that must simply be so, otherwise you will not learn. Rainy Sentana-Ries, here concluding part 16 of book 5 titled Gems of Oneness on behalf of the Mancharians. Thank you.